the 14th of July 2022. I'm your host, Dana Durnford. I'm also known as the nuclear-proctologist.org, and we do forensic investigative journalism on nuclear universities, the nuclear industry, the nuclear apologist, aka the media, the universities. And we do that 5 days a week as a public service for Mother Earth. She's in desperate need of more people doing this. You need to fight back against the nuclear industry. It's the moral and ethical thing to do. There is no better calling on this planet. And the industry is crazy, as we demonstrate each day, unfortunately. They're still cleaning up the laboratories from 100 years ago in France. The nuclear industry is extending my videos 12 hours after the broadcast exactly. And so last night when the show was over was 1 hour 56 minutes. 12 hours later, there's an extra 6 seconds added onto it, exactly 12 hours later. Not 12 hours and 1 minute, not 11 hours and 59 minutes, but 12 hours. And I don't see any other streaming videos where that happens. They took down my site last year with 24,200 subscribers, which is the exact number I had for almost 5 years, 24,200 subscribers. I never lost a subscriber, I never gained a subscriber for 5 years. And when we were out researching spiders, of all things, that are missing, last year from the forest, 400 miles out into the woods by myself, YouTube lobbyists yanked my channel. Currently we have Kevin Blanch from the United States is on the beach in Ground Zero, where the species have been exterminated along the United States coastline. We confirmed it all the way to Alaska. We're going to give Kevin a call shortly, right away actually, and get him to find out what's the latest updates from where he is. We're going to play some of his videos in the background. And we hope everybody's doing good, if that's possible, during an extinction event. And so let's give Kevin a call and see if we can catch him. That way, if he needs a bit of time, he's got the extra time, right? There we go. Let's hope we can catch Kevin in the early hours. Now, it was a full moon last night and today, so he's got a super low tide. He's got a super low tide.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, Kevin. How busy? Are you okay to get online with us?
Yeah, I'm out of the tide pool. Just come up out. Having a beer.
That's good. You probably need one
right
after.
Here at the beer. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, a lot of work, timing this. I mean, the videos are only short and sweet. I don't know how the one turned sideways and the other one turned upside down, what's going on there, but, I mean, they are what they are. You can always mirror image them and flip them if anybody wants to. I don't care.
Yeah, that's right. And
so I'll fix them when I get home.
Right, and I'll download them and flip them for the next show is what I'll end up doing. But I'm going to try to see what we got going on here in the background.
That was a good video today. And, we timed it perfect. Worked. I'm like, come on, give this a break. And it just got right off that reef where I got in. and got a really good look. And that's an important reef right there. And, deader than shit. Some hermit crabs, whoop-de-doo. But not even any, I found one sea anemone, and it was pretty sickly.
What color was it?
Well, it's supposed to be, it was one of the brighter green ones, but it looked like it was grayish, and I don't know, it looked like death is what it looked like.
Right. And the reason I asked that is because on the west coast of Canada, that was literally the only sea anemone that I was finding out of 84 species. And each species is multiple colors, was the green. So you found one finally after 3 days. One, and it was really sickly looking creature. And again, well, like you said, I know that the sea anemones are tough, because the urchins, they go, the starfish go, but the urchins hang in there, but they're gone. They should never go. Tough. They're the most prolific in all oceans, is the sea urchins, yeah. And California used to have a thriving sea urchin diving industry, where they harvest the organs, the reproductive organs called unis.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of uses for them. Of course, they eat them, and
Yep.
But the thing is, you hear people all the time, we're still diving good. Okay. But whoopie-doo, So
they don't understand the big picture. Yeah, they don't. No.
I thought a salmon, the ocean's okay. I saw one starfish, the ocean's okay. That's how pathetic they are.
I ran into people like that quite a lot. They couldn't wrap their mind around it. Yeah, they can't wrap their mind around what it's supposed to look like.
Mind. Oh, I found a couple stuff. I mean, one of the lifeguards at the shack early this morning, because I was up at 4 a.m. again. I've been sleeping on the beach, because I'm right there on the, because I got to be in the right location because them pools go low so early in the a.m. and it happens so quick. They don't stay low very often. I got to be Johnny on the spot. I haven't got good video in the mornings. It's been dark, but tomorrow morning, low tide at 5:30, and so I'll probably get some footage at the PB Point that I've been out there 2 days ago.
Yeah, you're forced to sleep on the beaches. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to be Johnny on the spot right there at low tide because it happens fast. It doesn't. This is a summer low tide. This isn't a winter low tide. Yeah. They're very different, and the summer low tides aren't nearly what the winter ones are, and they're quick, really quick. This thing moves fast.
Yeah, what I used to do was I would get on the beach about 2 hours before the tide hit this low point, and so then I would follow it out, right? And when the tide started rising,
this time of year in Southern Cal, in SoCal, on most beaches and most places in this time of year, what would happen in 2 hours happens in about 15 minutes. She sucks out so fast this time of year.
Well, that part of the coastline, yeah.
Yeah, because the California current's in so close right now, and so these current, and you got this flow that's going on here right now, and it's an inward flow. It's really an inward flow, and so it's not just about the moon cycle. It's the flow, and then a lot of times of course, in the winter you get the outer flow, so they get super, super low, and they stay super, super low. But here, it sucks out fast, and you got that inner flow that's going on right now with the California current and tide, so she races right back up. I mean, it goes down, right back up.
Yeah, I used to work as a commercial diver in the Bay of Fundy with a 52-foot tide exchange every 6 hours. It was madness.
Yeah, there's more to it than it's complicated, and a lot of it to be good at understanding the ocean, and then it just comes from experience.
That's right, yeah. And so you never seen any colors. You're not seeing any.
Nothing today, and this is a good pool I was in today.
No groups.
And this morning, I've been typhoing all morning, all freaking evening, and I never found anything again. So it's bad, And we were just talking about here this, and I've documented this reef many times. It's not getting better; it's actually getting worse.
That's right, yeah. And
it's stunning.
You're not seeing any groups of birds again today, by chance, are you?
No.
No.
Nope. No birds, and there's usually so many seagulls right here.
Well, there should be all kinds of
seagulls.
different species. There should be probably 100 species during a visit. You should see
It
at
is
least,
weird. Well, you know,
And no smell on the
here
beach?
a couple months ago about all the pelicans dying
Right?
here in SoCal. Remember that outbreak just 2 months ago?
Right.
Again, they came out starvation.
Right.
You can see it here because this is Pelicanville. God, we're not seeing shit for pelicans. I haven't seen one pelican at PB. I remember last year I got that footage of that feeding frenzy. I think every pelican in Southern California was right there tunneling.
Wow.
I videoed it. It's out there online. And then right after that, they went through the starvation event, and we're not seeing any.
And you're not getting
And the
any.
seagulls.
You're not getting any smell. You were saying along the beaches either. It's not smelling like an ocean anymore.
No, we're not getting much ribbon. You know, I was out early this morning all morning for 3-4 hours. You know, I was
How
4
was-
o'clock in the morning till 7 working that ribbon, you know, for miles and miles. And that ribbon's got shit in it. You know, it's got some little teeny shells, tiny across the river, real tiny in certain spots, but there's no lobsters, there's no crabs, there's no shrimp, you know, like you usually see. You see remnants of all kinds of shit. You know, pieces of torn up crab, pieces of torn up lobster, you know, or bigger shells, and, you know, the stinkies. You don't see those.
Well,
big
well,
old, you know, the big shell with
low tide is when all. That's right. Low tide, for people who don't understand, low tide is when all the creatures from land, birds and crows and everything else, would descend into the tide pools looking for a meal. This was a clockwork for
boy.
millions of years, millions and millions of years. This was the clockwork
That's right.
of the animal. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, and a lot of people don't understand this too, and I talk about this a lot, is the moon cycle. A lot of ocean creatures suck their energy off the moon. Like jellyfish, we said jellyfish. People don't realize that jellyfish move in on the full moon, and they suck up a lot of their electrolytes from the reflection on the moon. A lot of animals in the ocean do it. So the animals will get in tide at low tide. Like I said, the birds, so there's a lot of life going on at full moons. I mean, and that's why. You know, it's a really quite a phenomenon how many of those creatures, including jellyfish, not just, they get the electricity in them off the reflection off the moon, off the sun, you know, and people don't know that. What?
We're watching your video. Is that Pete? Hi, Pete.
He says hi.
I couldn't hear you, Peter. Sorry.
So he's talking about the lack of jellyfish.
Right.
Remember, there's some videos out there that I did in 2013 or 14, right here at PB Point, and there was all kinds of smaller jellyfish that washed up dead. Oh yeah, the big one, but we're not seeing any jellyfish at all.
When I was younger, I spent 14 years, 300 days a year, diving the Pacific Ocean coastlines for 6 hours every single day. I used to do 100-day trips back to back as a commercial diver without coming home. And so, like, to me, to see the species completely disappeared is just, I still, after all these years, can't wrap my mind around.
It's so cute. It happened so fast.
Yeah, it's just,
it really is.
I could never thought it was possible, yeah.
Me neither. I think about it every day, you know, and every night. It runs around, I'm like, is this even really possible? And then the fact that everybody's just okay with it. How can that be?
Yeah,
you know, people are just okay with all these animals just disappearing. It's only been 10 years.
I just had an idea that, because on my site, I have the pictures up before. And what we got to try to do is print them out into big cardboard posters and get them to you, and so you can go down and ask people what do they think of the difference, and show them the pictures and ask them, because that's the only way. That's the only way they're going to appreciate it.
Well, I tell people, because over the last several years, about 5-6 years, a lot of people have posted old footage on YouTube of tide pools in 2010, 2009, and I've been finding more and more show up. And so there's a lot of these same tide pools that are showing up all over the internet now, just loaded. And I always comment on them. And I'm like, they sure don't look like that now. And that was pre-Fukushima.
Right there.
There's a woman who posted There was a woman that was posted just dozens and dozens of videos that she was working tide pools in 2010, California, and I got a hold of her, and she started putting them up, and I'm like, those are historic as hell, before and after, and she's been posting everything she's got, and just loaded in 2010.
I remember the nuclear industry was trolling me by posting the pictures saying that they were down to so-and-so place, and here's what it looked like. So I took the boat and actually went there on at least 6 occasions and countered the video where the tide pools were actually empty. The industry is...
they just lie. They're not about... Well, we know just what
they're insane. They're
buildings,
insane.
The fake footage in the buildings, they'll fake anything.
They're insane, right? They're actually insane.
Oh, they're evil.
The supporters of the nuclear industry.
You're evil.
They'll do everything they can to stop us from saving the planet for some reason.
By the way, the EPA passed the pad. The activists are going to go skits in New Mexico. They passed the freaking repository on the Holtec pad in Texas today.
I didn't see it yet.
Nobody thought they would.
I knew they were going to do it for sure because that's the way they work, right? Bechtel is got the contract now for WHIP.
This is Holtec.
So Holt, which is Chris Singh, yeah.
And so these activists in Mexico are going to go jump out of their skin on this one, and in Texas, because nobody thought the EPA would approve it, and they approved it today. So
shocking news.
Oh God.
Terrifying news.
Very shocking.
We got the video. We got
your. Said in their impact statement that I read the impact statement that storing all the waste there from the world in these counties would be zero impact on the environment. Okay.
They're lunatics.
Can we believe that? It's insanity.
They're actually lunatics, right?
Yeah, lunatics.
And so. Tomorrow you should be able to catch the tide, the first after daylight tide, hopefully, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, so what's going to happen right where I'm at, those tide pools that I've been in early in the mornings right where I'm sleeping, they're really good tide pools, TV Point.
Is the weather going to hold out?
It's been dark.
Is the weather going to hold out for you, Kevin? Is the weather going to hold out for you while you're there?
Oh, yeah, it's SoCal, Rick. The weather's the same every day, all day here. The weather's perfect.
Great news.
And so the low tide is later tomorrow than it's been all week. It's the last day. Tomorrow's the last day of the decent low tide. And it's been getting way lower in the mornings than it has in the evenings. And so I think low tide tomorrow is at 5:30, and sun up is at 5:48. So that's good enough.
Yeah, you'll get out there.
I'll be able to get footage. We'll have enough light to be able to see it.
And
because I've been in them, and I've been going through them in the dark, with a little bit at the sunrise, and I've been in them the last 2 days, and there ain't nothing in them.
Yeah, I used to do that too. Same thing in the dark. If I could do it, I would get on the spot and check it just to cover another spot.
It's starting to get a little bit of light that time. There's just enough light, but my camera won't pick it up. I mean, there's enough light there I can see, but my camera's not picking it up because I tried.
Sure, yeah.
But these afternoons, these are good videos that I got the last 2 days because, especially at Point Loma, because it's been closed for 2.5 years, and it's so unbelievably dead. And the other thing that's so stark is both the rangers that I talked to, I've known the one forever, he brought up Fukushima to me.
Yeah, wow.
I talked to him for a long time with both of them. Both of them are like, there ain't nothing. And they're all day, every day for years and years and years and years.
They're getting paid. They're getting a fortune to protect the tide pools that don't exist.
Well, they're rangers, so they're not biologists. They're not making a fortune.
But you know what I mean. Their job is to protect the tide pool.
They got a good, and so that's their job working out there. And and they're not in denial. I mean, they'll have a conversation with me.
There's supposed to be 480 species of worms in the Pacific tidal zones, by the way.
Nothing.
No.
The only thing I'm seeing is I see some, a few hermit crabs today. Whoopie-doo. Woo-woo.
Yeah, normally crabs were the most prolific because they lay so many eggs. They're such visible. They're always moving. They're easy to spot,
well,
right?
The ribbon in the morning, the one thing that's the most noticeable that I always pay attention to is the torn-up crabs, and that's what the seagulls are, So you can see, crab leg, partial crab, partial lump, and then that's what the shorebirds and the seagulls go crazy on them, and there's always plenty of that.
Because there's nothing else for them to eat, right?
Nothing. I haven't seen in 3 days on the ribbon. I've not seen one partial crab or one partial piece of lobster on the entire ribbon. And I've been walking probably in the mornings. I'm covering probably 5 miles of the ribbon each morning.
Wow.
I'm walking that far. My feet hurt. I hurt my one foot. I've got sore foot from walking so much, but I'm used to it. I actually, I enjoy it to a certain extent, my old ass, but it ain't easy what I do, but,
Well, you're getting the documentation, period, and that's invaluable.
That's all that counts. That's what a good PhD does. A real PhD does the field work.
That was the problem I had when I was doing the coastline by Alaska, was it was so boring because there was nothing there. There was no colors. There was no birds. There was no insects. By the way, how is the insects?
Oh, it's horrible. There's shit.
None.
Yeah, once in a while you see a little piece of seagrass wiped up with some gnats on it.
Yeah.
So there's not the, big pile with the 10 million flies all over.
Well, there used to be 30,000 species along the tidal zones that would live within 12 feet of the high tide. And as soon as the tide started to go down, they would venture down into that environment. That was the norm, see?
We're famous right here for, what's the famous shorebird, the one that does the gigantic migration from the little teeny ones that do the migration from Argentina to here? I'm trying to think of the name. Something nuts. We're famous for those.
Yeah, I can't remember anymore. It's almost like
red nuts. So the red nuts.
Right.
So the red nuts are a shorebird. I haven't seen one this trip. Not one. I haven't seen any shorebirds.
Have you seen any fishermen?
I saw one blue heron in the Mission Bay upper river on our way over the bridge. One.
Which is nothing. And so you should definitely see lots of herons, different blue herons, gray herons, for sure. I'm playing the video as we were talking, and there's nothing in the tidal zones whatsoever. There's a couple of little tiny bits of algae, but there's supposed to be 700 different algae in those tide zones.
Look at the flora that I'm finding. What little bit of flora I'm finding is the sickest. That stuff should be bright reddish flora, pinkish.
Multiple colors, beautiful, vibrant colors.
Look how sick what little bit, if I can find any, what little bit I find is so sick, it's unbelievable. And I'm finding very little. Most of it's just plain dead, the flora. When the flora's gone, and the green algae, so people know this, is invasive species. It's not natural species. Everything wipes out. The lowest form of species that will pull in is the algae, and that's basically sewer. That's urban runoff.
There's a couple of, what happens is, if you wipe out the species, there's a couple of predatory species that will fill in the gaps typically.
Right, algae.
But in your pictures, they don't even show up. It's totally exterminated.
No, you don't even see the freaking because you watch for it because you know you're going to fall because it's that slick.
That's right,
yeah. You see that now.
It's terrifying. I find it absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. So, it's fucked up. And the thing that's even worse is no one gives a shit. Everybody's got blinders on, and they're just ignoring it.
Right, they don't understand.
We're talking from the establishment, so-called biology departments, professors, high school teachers, surfers, swimmers, your concerned parent. I'm talking to people that are born and raised here all the time today about the water quality. I said, you look at the water quality, what are you doing about? I said, Google it. We have the website here, and they're like, oh, shit. They don't even pay attention. They're in the water every day, and it's on a red alert.
They're not. That's what I mean. They can't wrap their mind around.
They don't give a shit. I guess they're willing to go kill themselves, because a lot of people get sick down here from the E. coli. They can kill you. There was a kid, a 6-year-old who went home just recently at Del Mar, and it was E. coli. It killed him.
Right, your immune system is compromised because of the radioactive fallout, so you're more susceptible to pathogens and viruses that were normally harmless, right?
The guy was asking me down here today, well, what is it? There's got to be something in the water. There's something in the water that's doing this. And I said, you ever heard of plutonium? He says, what's that? And I said, well, that's a term I came up with Fukushima mixed in with everything else. It's a gas or a plasma. It's new. And of course it's new. I mean, we've never had meltdowns like this before, and that explains a lot of this. How can they measure for something they don't even know what the hell it is? And if they do measure, they just hide the measurements.
Well, that's why the industry is hiding us, because we're able to tell the story. And people are not stupid.
When your phone number comes up as spam likely, and my videos post sideways, upside down, and people can't find me, people that are subscribed to me can't find me. Yep. I mean, internet kettling, I coined the term. That's what they're doing. I guess that's their answer. But when there's only two of us that have gutted this out all the way, yep. I mean, there's a bunch of people that took on Fukushima in the early days, but they were in it for all the wrong reasons. I mean, it's only been 11 years, for God's sakes. Everybody thinks like that's an end. It ain't shit. I've been at this for, 50 some odd. I mean, if you're going to be a real activist, and real, biologist or a real professor, what the hell is 11 years? It ain't nothing. It's nothing. It's like, any craftsman.
Well,
talk to a craftsman.
we don't want to.
I've been doing 11 years. I'm done.
We don't want to discourage people from trying, right? Because even if they're only doing it 2 weeks a year, at least they're doing something, right?
Nope. Yeah, but they're not. That's the problem. Well, I mean, if they would do that, just part-time, we could use some part-time activists. I'll take them. Part-time type boards. I'll take all of them I can get. I'll get by. I need help any chance I can get. I'm poor freaking sleeping my sleep out, and inflation down here is nuts. Like I went in the place I've been hanging in for years last night after the typhoon. I go in there and have one beer and a bowl of mac and cheese. I got to eat, She hands me the bill. It's $31. I'm like, what the hell? Really? For one beer and a thing of inflation, baby? So, oh my God. Money goes nowhere. Oh yeah, it is good. That's why I go there. But the thing is, it ain't easy. I shoot a 9-minute video, but you know how much goes in? Like I spent 5.5 hours in the PB library today trying to charge this piece of shit phone of mine, so I got nowhere to plug in. 5.5 hours in that insane asylum, with all the mentally ill. I'm happy. How are you guys okay? So, a lot of work goes into this, They're traveling up and down the coast. California's a big place.
You're going to have to get yourself some of those little battery charging packs. Yeah. They're like $20 a pop. I
should have did that. Yep, and I just forgot, and I didn't. But
because that will save you quite a lot of heartache, right?
And I should have did that. I should have, the brick. I should have did it.
They're cheap. They're cheap now too,
I got
right?
a lot in my mind. Yeah, they're cheap. I'll get that handled, but I'm having issues with my phone. There's a lot of things,
like I ended up getting a generator. I couldn't keep up with the power supply, and so I couldn't travel into all the important spots. So I had to get a boat, and the list goes. You got to keep pushing.
A lot of people forget this, that I was a millionaire when Fukushima happened. I always had plenty of money. I got a bill for $1.8 million from the leukemia unit, and I'm poor. And so I got to survive. I've got to eat. I don't have an income. And I stay at this, and I work at this every freaking day. And I do it on a shoestring. And the people that do, and it's, you're saying a little bit of crowd, that have helped me out. James has sent me money like he has you. Thank God for him, Lucid. Or I wouldn't be able to do it. And, there's been a few people that it's very tiny few, but if we didn't have them, our little army, then this wouldn't happen. So I want to say thank you to all of them.
Yeah, no, it really is. It really is.
That makes it go.
It's real difficult to keep any of you. I got a pretty big operation, but it's extremely difficult just to put fuel and oil into it.
Yeah, it's like I said. So, plane tickets cost money, food costs money, all this shit costs money. And, it chews up pretty quick.
There's no foundation supporting real documentation at all.
I mean, unbelievable. All the people with money, you think somebody said, hey, here's $100,000, Blanche. Or here's $100,000, Dana. Here, what's that to them?
Well, we would stomp out the nuclear industry for the better part. That's the scary thing, is that we're capable of really damaging this industry pretty quickly if we had foundations funding us.
Yeah, but the good thing is, and we've known this in the history of activism, the history of really true people, that it's always grassroots. These grassrooters type is the only ones that ever get anything accomplished. But, Sonny?
Yeah, it's difficult.
So that's the good thing about it. It's kept me on my toes, right? We've had to stay on our toes because we sure ain't got comfortable with a bunch of money. And maybe we got a bunch of money, we'd get, lazy with it. So,
well, no,
it's kept us fighting.
When I had the money coming in, I usually went on the ocean for long periods and done the research. And, we're in it for the right reasons, obviously, right?
Right.
We're here we're trying to kill the nuclear industry for starters, but we're desperately trying to salvage the planet too, right? We're trying to claw back from the disease of nuclear.
I love the aquatic life. I love the seals, all of them. I mean, I love them. I don't want to see them all die like they're dying. It pisses me off. Of course, I'm going to try to save them. I fight for her, she fights for me. That's what it should be. All right, Dana, I'm going to go.
Yeah. So, appreciate it, Kevin.
Call me tomorrow, and I'll get some morning videos up tomorrow early. They'll probably be really good and in some bigger open pools.
Well, this is my last show until Sunday.
Well, we can do it Sunday.
Yeah, because you'll have lots of footage up on Sunday.
And you take Friday off.
Yeah, because I start on Sundays, right? So
right.
It's really hard to do what I do 5 days a week. It's a incredible grind, right?
You got to take some time off. Yeah.
You got to take a couple of days off, you lose your mind. I was in the woods again today for 2 hours looking for spider webs, and I can't find a spider web in the woods. And there was no bees, no wasps, no insects bothering me. It was super quiet when, deep in the forest, and shut the engine off and walk in the forest. There was no sound. It was zero sound, no chirping, no nothing, no crickets, no frogs, no nothing.
It's the same out west we were right on the lake. I live in that incredible ecology out behind my house, and that same thing is sterile. And we're talking one of the great, ecosystems in the world. I live on the Great Marsh of the Great Salt Lake, and like I said, it's quiet. It's like I see a bat flying around once in a while. That's about it. All right, you hear that's it.
Sorry, Kevin. Okay, thank you, Kevin. We'll talk to you on Sunday, my friend. Do the best you can, but good luck. Okay, Kevin, thank you. It's Kevin Blanch from Ground Zero, an extinction event in the Pacific Ocean. We had Yoshi Sumatsu went down and done investigation along that coastline. I'd done research for 6 years, 4 to 5 months a year on the ocean without coming ashore, all the way to Alaska. It's a total extinction event. I was showing you some of those pictures earlier. These pictures are the before and after pictures of the Pacific coastline. To your left is what it's supposed to look like, even where Kevin Blanch is to currently. And it's completely naked, like the right. These are pictures to the right and left that time, but to the right that I took. And these are the same spots as the pictures to the left. It's a complete extermination event. And Kevin is down there verifying that the species didn't come back, and that each year he's able to definitively, quantitatively show that the species there's less and less each year of the handful of species there were left over from the massive event, this catastrophic event on our planet known as the Fukushima nuclear meltdown. And media have come out and warned you that deteriorating plant threatens mass extinction around the entire world. And the reason it does that is because the radioactive fallout. The tidal zone is extremely vulnerable. And so when you see This is a 16-day model of the radioactive fallout from Japan. It's just unbelievably terrifying. Kevin doesn't have a voice at this stage, so I don't really have a voice either, per se, an audience, what I'm saying, right? So anything at all will help get the message out there is important at this stage. And then the industry is trying to proliferate more of these disease factories known as nuclear power plants. And that's simply unacceptable. The fact that no disciplines in the academic communities have ever spoken out, let alone the nuclear industry. And what we see in the nuclear industry was that the students are humanity's worst enemy. They're out there trolling the comment sections and all posts on all social media sites. It's just terrifying that they hate humanity so much they will do everything they can to destroy the future of everybody. This was a study that came out today. Persistent impact of Fukushima decontamination. The persistent impact of Fukushima decontamination on soil erosion and suspended sediment. Now, they only acknowledge the cesium-137, as does most of the tens of thousands of academic studies that we've covered. And I've only been at it for about 11 years, but I can guarantee you I'm aware. And so you don't need to be at it as long as I have, or Kevin, in order to understand the significance. And if you got no experience, that shouldn't deter you. Don't let that deter you. You need to get active. You need to get educated. You need to get angry. And you need to find ways to bully the nuclear industry minimum. Windscale accident in 1957 and Chernobyl accident in 1986. Long-term. So they invoked Windscale, which was in Sellafield. They changed the name to Sellafield because of the crimes against humanity they committed to try to hide it. Long-term radiation exposure and radiophobia, where you're scared of radiation. You have every right to be scared of radiation. This is a 20-day model of radioactive fallout from Japan, only based on venting, not based on the actual nuclear meltdowns on top of that. But when they say radiophobia in an event like Windscale and Chernobyl, Fukushima, when they start talking the words radiophobia, these are subhumans. These are not humans that do stuff like this. This is what the subhuman species will do. Radiophobia has increased the health risk and psychological pressures on the people of the region. That infuriates me. I would like nothing better to do than have a conversation with those people that wrote that betrayal. Let me show you what radiophobia. It's just, to me, it's just unbelievable that anybody can chastise people for seeking. So imagine you live in this area. They're talking about radiophobia. They actually picked up around 60 million one-ton bags. They're growing food right alongside the nuclear waste, and they have the incredible fucking arrogance to mention the word radiophobia. The despicable, disgusting fucking parasites that wrote that word. Being afraid of that is the right thing to do. It's the moral thing to do. It's the ethical thing to do. To call people having radiophobia because they fucking got to drive their children to school past that every day, and you call them radiophobia. You fucking degenerate piece of shit that done that. You despicable parasite that said that. You fucking maggot that said that. You ridiculous scumbag that said that. Your fucking parents should be drowned in a bucket of vomit. You fucking piece of shit. There you go. I got that off my chest. That feels a bit better. How is it radiophobia when you're in a nuclear wasteland, you sacks of shit? You disgusting sacks of shit. Growing food and harvesting it right alongside of 1 ton bags of radiation. And anybody concerned, you're going to accuse them of having radiophobia. You disgusting, revolting, hideous monsters. You really are hideous, despicable monsters. I apologize for the language, but if you understood the victims and the people and lost everything to what they're claiming is radiophobia, it's surreal to use the word radiophobia. This is what I mean about the nuclear industry. We've ran across this thousands of times over the last decade, and there's this disconnect of reality on purpose to make you complacent so that you can't save the planet. The planet is fucking dying because of this. And this industry is doing everything it can to make sure you can't have a conversation. And then they're bringing people in from Tokyo to plant food in a nuclear wasteland who don't know any better, using children on top of that. But to use the word radiophobia, if I found you, I'd hit you with a baseball bat up the side of your fucking head the minute I seen you. You piece of shit. You fucking piece of shits. Resulting in the abandonment, radiophobia resulting in abandonment of large areas rich in environmental resources that are in a nuclear fucking wasteland. You disgusting parasites. Here they talk about the radioactive fallout, and they only mention a tiny fraction, literally a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent. And then they only acknowledge cesium-137 on top of that. Surreal, eh? The word evil doesn't fucking do it justice. Machiavellian don't do it justice. Well, it does, because that's what they are by nature, Machiavellian. They're by nature evil. Oh, and agricultural reasons. Growing food in a nuclear wasteland. And you're making a money for a study to downplay and to misrepresent it and to deceive the population. And you think you've got some of the attributes of the human. Well, you're wrong. You're 100%. You know, the nuclear students, we actually got a poll tonight. Are nuclear professors cowards for not having nuclear students work at the Fukushima nuclear meltdown? 28 votes is 100% yes. It's 100% yes because they're cowards. The entire nuclear industry has never went near Fukushima. They produced hundreds of thousands of studies worldwide to downplay it, though, but they've never went there. And they talk about the agricultural fields over and over in this study. This is what they acknowledged was cleaned up. You can't clean up at 3% of the land and say you're cleaning it up. Even if you do, and all they've done was removed at best 5 centimeters. You know what 5 centimeters is? It's 2 fucking inches. Removing 2 inches from the topsoil. And a lot of the farmers we covered these studies, all they're doing is flipping it over. They're not even removing it and growing food in it. Calling it evil, I don't understand why armies worldwide don't go and invade Japan. I don't understand why there's not criminal courts worldwide hanging nuclear academics. That's what seems to be the right thing to do, is hang every fucking one of them. That way we make sure they can't have fucking inbreeding. Claiming they're cleaning up the topsoil, the air dose rates decreased by 20% to 70%. for 15 minutes or something. They only picked up the bags in 3% of a single prefecture, for fuck's sakes. I'm pissed off like you can't even imagine, and I apologize for it. It's infuriating that these fucking scumbags exist on this planet. They're only talking about Fukushima prefecture. Food was banned from 14 prefectures. Definitely should have been banned from Tokyo on top of that. Right? And Osaka, 600 kilometers south of it on top of that. I'm not able to keep, like, I had this all chopped up to tell the story, but I'm simply not able to do it. I'm so angry, so I'll just move on to the next story. Evacuation orders to be partly, 10% of it, community, is going to be lifted in August. The town of Futaba, the Fukushima prefectural government, the Japanese government, agreed Thursday to lift an evacuation order for a district in Fukushima town. About 11 years, 5 months after the March 2011 Fukushima nuclear accident. And again, like I know I only got 11 years being public. I was at this almost a decade before I became public. But like, if I don't have the experience to tell the truth, then really, who do? Like, really, who do, right? I know Kevin says 11 years is nothing, but it's actually something. And I'm here 5 days a week doing 2-hour shows, and I work all day, every day, 7 days a week at it. I spent 6 years doing 4 to 5 month species counts on the coastline when nobody else done it. I don't think it's fair to say stuff like that. Futaba, which co-hosts Tokyo Electric Power Company, crippled Fukushima #1 nuclear plant. Now, Futaba is right 3 kilometers from the nuclear fucking meltdown. They're still ongoing. The district that will exist, the evacuation order, a roughly 555 hectare area, which is 10% of the entire town. So if you're going to open up 10% of a nuclear wasteland right alongside of multiple nuclear meltdowns, like you got to be some bizarre fucking demon to do something like that in the first place. Oh yeah, don't cross the street. Don't go over there. Do you really think radiation is not going to migrate back into that 10%? Do you really think they can clean up 10% of a community but don't go anywhere else in the community? But this 10% is okay, and every time the wind blows from the nuclear meltdown, you're going to get showered non-stop with brutal radiation. Like, they don't need to do this genocide that they're doing. They didn't need to do this. It's just they've been evil for so long, that was their natural reflexes. To be even fucking more evil. Or we still have to fight for humanity. We still have to fight for the species. We can't just throw in the fucking towel. I don't believe that humanity is finished. I believe that if we come to our senses, we can survive, we can have future generations, and we can have species too. We can restore some order on the planet. But the system that's there now is completely Looney Tunes. It's full of nothing but inbreed, degenerate idiots. Actual idiots, these people actually are. They were born into it. They were born with the silver spoon. It doesn't mean they're born with brains. They were born with the inbreeding, the constant inbreeding. And that's the current people that are in charge of the nuclear industry and other dangerous industries. These are the inbreeding. 10% of a whole town is open. because it's a nuclear wasteland everywhere else. China urges Japan to attend to concerns of various parties over nuclear-contaminated water dump. So Japan is planning on dumping 1,000 tanks into the Pacific Ocean. Everybody's up in arms about that. They don't understand what's been going on for 10 years. And let me explain this to you, because this is only because of public relation firms. People their job is to come out and lie to everybody and stop the planet from having a future. That's their actual job. Whether they understand it or not, there's 1,000 public relation firms. So currently they say there's 1,000 tanks. In 2013, they had 1,000 tanks. 2014 was 1,200 tanks. 2017 was 900 tanks. These tanks, by the way, and let me see a video of you walking with both feet flat on the ground. I'll take my sight down. I'll burn the boat. I'll burn everything I got. If you fill up the tank at 2.2 sieverts per hour per liter, it's 14 million sieverts. You can't build another tank on the site. You can't build another tank anywhere on the site, let alone right outside of each other, because of the gamma shines, the X-rays, the neutron bursts. And the tanks need to be, with that kind of dose, tanks would probably have to be 24 feet thick. In 2019, they had that fourth line from the bottom, 1,000 tanks. And in 2021, they still had 1,000 tanks. So they had 1,000 tanks today in 2022 and 1,000 tanks in 2013. Japan Prime Minister, they show up, he's the Prime Minister, and now he wants 9 nuclear power plants. No, the nuclear industry wants 9 nuclear power plants, and he told him to go out and say that to the media. He's incapable of making these decisions without being told what to say. South Korea wants a rapid rebuilding of the nuclear industry, but they don't even have the manpower, for goodness sakes. They don't have the supply chain. All of this is strictly posturing. They're not going to get 9 plants up and running by winter in Japan, and South Korea is not going to have a renaissance because the next prime minister is going to pull the plug on this nonsense that he's going to, because renewables and storage, energy storage, has already shown that it can destroy nuclear if given an opportunity. Last year was 333 nuclear power plants where the renewables came online, for fuck's sakes. And somebody finally voted no to nuclear students. Are nuclear professor cowards for not having students work at Fukushima nuclear meltdown? Somebody actually voted no. Can you imagine how pathetic that person is? Because no nuclear scientists or nuclear students have ever went to Fukushima. The students, the reason we want nuclear students at the nuclear meltdown, there's a simple reason. Bear with me. I'll show you why nuclear students and academics, nuclear scientists should work at a fucking nuclear meltdown, in case you can't figure it out on your own. Okay, here we go. It's the world's kookiest batshit lunatic in human history is nuclear. Why should nuclear students, and professors and everybody else work at nuclear meltdowns? Oh, hang on, I'll show you. This is rather easy to tell the story. First off, it's the homeless and the destitute and the victims of society. High radiation forced withdrawals of the workers trying to restore power. But the buildings were destroyed. There was no way to restore power. Fukushima 311 tape. It's time to make a geezer suicide squad. So obviously nuclear scientists are not going to go there. Nuclear students are not going to go there. Nuclear academics are not going to go there. Nuclear power plant employees from other power plants are not going to go there. In fact, Japan shut down 54 reactors and none of the employees went to Fukushima. TEPCO admits it'll run out of nuclear scientists in 5 years. No. TEPCO admits it'll run out of nuclear professors and students in 5 years. No. TEPCO admits it'll run out of homeless and destitute and the victims of society and the immigrants that don't speak the language in 5 years. Yeah. So, are nuclear professors cowards for not having students work at the Fukushima nuclear meltdown? Well, of course they are. Tokyo Vice Governor suggested a Fukushima draft because nuclear academics, nuclear scientists, nuclear students won't go there. Nuclear companies, Jacob is not going to go there. Holtec is not going to go there. 60 and older should be prepared to die at Fukushima. Should 60 and older be prepared to die at Fukushima, or should nuclear academics who created this fucking stuff be prepared to die there? Nuclear students, nuclear alumni, nuclear corporations, nuclear universities. All of eastern Japan evacuated if Fukushima plant was abandoned. Think about that statement. Half the country to be evacuated if your power plant breaks down. What was it they said? Send us people who don't mind dying.
Another example, immediately after the first hydrogen explosion, TEPCO gave out an order a request to all of these labor dispatching companies, and they said, send us people who don't mind dying. At that time, it was...
Send us people who don't mind dying. So that kind of rules out nuclear professors who are normally cowards. And the nuclear students who are incredible cowards because they're the inbreeds of the inbreeds. And this is what they've done throughout history. Nuclear scientists, nuclear professors, nuclear students, nuclear academics don't go to nuclear meltdowns. They kidnap people off the streets. In the UK, they went to the theatres and stole people.
From the factory had turned up.
Let me start that again. United Kingdom.
The police from the factory had turned up looking for volunteers, and they brought a bus, and they decided the best way to get the volunteers was to go to the cinema and volunteer the back 2 rows at the show to go into the factory to, as it turned out, to help push the fuel rods out of the reactor.
They kidnap people from the theaters to go into and push the fuel rods out of the reactor. They didn't get nuclear companies, nuclear students. Forbes, this is outrageous. Homeless people are being sold to companies and put to work on Fukushima radiation. Government-funded shelter supplying gangsters with workers. Homeless people are being sold to companies and put to work on Fukushima. So why shouldn't they use nuclear students? Why not use nuclear students? How's everybody doing? Hi, everybody. Are nuclear professors cowards for not having nuclear students work at the Fukushima nuclear meltdown? Whoever voted no, call my shows, 709-589-4406. I'm not going to yell at you. Just call me and tell me why you think they shouldn't do it. Homeless people are being sold. Why should they do it instead of nuclear scientists and nuclear universities? I wonder. Temporary workers who get the minimum wage are fighting. In fact, workers were making roughly $11 a day US for working at the nuclear meltdown. Homeless are taken to work in Fukushima ready to die. UN official astounded. The mentally handicapped are working at Fukushima and are given worse radiation suits than regular employees who don't work at the meltdown, by the way. They're not radiation suits, they're paper suits, you arrogant piece of shit. Unskilled and destitute are the hiring targets for Fukushima. Not professors, not nuclear students, not the coward university students. And trust me, these are cowards of a whole different scale. Help Wanted ad seeks employees able to carry out a conversation. I guess that's why the nuclear students ain't there, right? Because you know fucking well they can't carry out a conversation. They're spamming everybody that nuclear's like a banana on all the Fukushima, 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl comments. Fukushima nuclear scientists are not being given food and have no place to go. No. The homeless and the destitute, the victims of society, the immigrants that don't speak the language are not being given any food. Doing the heroes' work of our planet. Not nuclear scientists or nuclear academics or nuclear universities or nuclear corporations. No, the victims of society are. Some co-workers are really tempered. They use violence. The whole friggin' story is just disgusting. Fukushima worker, I wanted to escape from the nuclear plant but feared he might hurt me. Top Tokyo doctor dealing with nuclear workers demand the government step in for safety reasons because they can't even read their... That could be nuclear students, actually. Are nuclear professors cowards for not having nuclear students working at Fukushima? Because Japan has lots of nuclear students, by the way. The mentally disabled are working at Fukushima. The homeless are treated like disposable people. Many men are forced to go to the nuclear meltdowns. You lose your faith in this industry immediately when you come to my site because the truth is so fucking blatant. The industry is nothing but cowards. It's incredible cowards. Very dangerous cowards. Very fucking weird cowards. Like weirdo. I talked to a pharmacist today. And he said, use a thermos and get a hot cup of tea. And use that to keep your throat from... because the hot tea will soak into the liners. He said, you can get a spray, but he said, you don't want to do that because you're going to be doing this permanently all the time. Right? You don't want to use like orange juice because it's acidic. He said, you drink tea? I said, yeah. He said, well, put a cup of tea in a thermos to keep it nice and hot. That'll help your throat from being, it'll help rejuvenate the skin in your throat, basically. Workers are tricked to being on the front line to keep them in a shed. So imagine if nuclear students were coming out and saying, they kept us in a shed. Fukushima worker, underage people employed, not nuclear scientists, not nuclear academics. We felt like kamikaze pilots, acute radiation sickness. So not nuclear scientists, not nuclear academics, not nuclear companies. Fukushima decontamination workers are threatened. They were punished. Does that sound like a nuclear scientist to you being punished? Seniors sought for frontline radiation clear. The ultimate insult when the people who built your fucking country are being considered disposable. That's the ultimate insult. How can Japan survive doing stuff like that, see? How can any country survive if they're going to treat the people that worked their whole fucking life and are deserving of retiring and living out the rest of their life after being fucking robbed their whole life? It's not very hard to fix this industry. You got to force the nuclear industry to work at the nuclear meltdowns. You can kiss nuclear goodbye right away. Everybody will quit the next fucking day. West Coast is hit with 220 million atoms per liter. Per liter. This is a study out of Ottawa, Canada. You can pretend it doesn't mean nothing. You're a fucking idiot if you do, though. What that means is all the birds and insects and animals, everything, humans, you name it, thyroid glands were saturated, sustained with iodine, which meant that the thyroid gland, the whole body was under siege, and your thyroid gland now is producing radioactive hormones. So this is why you're not cleaning the windshield on your car from insects anymore. So many studies of it showing up, and when you find one isotope, you can do a mathematical extrapolation on 1,000 different other isotopes to get the actual real numbers. But what it does is you have these plumes covering the entire fucking planet in 16 days. For the rest of your life, it's pulsing energy every second. The plume doesn't stop just because the model was 16 days. The plume is still coming out of it today and probably will be in 10,000 days. And only because we won't fucking deal with it. Only because we won't even try to come up with solutions. Only because the nuclear industry is a fucking lunatic. They have a major flaw. They're fucking insane. And they jeopardize the entire species. Every species on the planet now is jeopardized because of this stupid, fucking spineless industry. Well, it's too late to salvage the show tonight. Once I start swearing, that's the way she goes. Again, my personal opinion is everything in the nuclear industry should be lined up and get a fucking ice pick down the top of their heads. You get a machine, they got to stick their head in it, get their ice pick, and then their bodies drop down into wood chippers. Just get rid of this fucking lot on our planet. Fukushima burning dirty bombs. That can't be real. That's so mad and insane that surely that headline can't be real. Surely the nuclear industry wouldn't do something like that. Surely they can't be that fucking insane. 100,000 becquerels a kilogram is a dirty bomb, for fuck's sakes. And they're burning it all across the country, folks. And then you got the absolute degenerate scum media writing stories like this. It took a climate crisis to rehabilitate the nuclear power industry. The nuclear industry is the reason the climate has gone fucking mad. Fukushima was the catalyst that broke the climate's back. You got, gas, oil, and coal emissions don't create plumes that covers the planet in 20 fucking days. Gas, oil, and coal emissions don't pulse energy every second from the ocean floor to the top of the troposphere for millions of fucking years either. I want to break something right now. I'm that angry. That's not good. Thank God it's Friday for Dana. Because I start my shows on Thursday and they end on Friday. But like, it doesn't mean I stop. I'll be in the woods tomorrow and Saturday looking for insects and spiders and birds. And I'm not going to find none, but you have to go do it to prove it. Same as Kevin Blanch is doing. He's down there showing the tide zones are empty. And that means, in order for that to happen, right, it means your ocean is dead. You can't have empty tide pools and a healthy ecosystem, right? Because the tide pools are the nursery of the Pacific Ocean. And Kevin should have like printed out the pictures from my site and took that along with him to wake the fucking people up. Because talking about salmon is not going to wake people up. You got to show them the pictures what the tide pools should look like. Then you'll get results in that particular environment, right? Nuclear, yes please. Can you imagine what kind of piece of shit, puppy rape and child molesting sack of shit that creature is? Last week, environmentalists. So now they're claiming pro-nuclear or environmentalists in this article. Reacted with concern to news that Germany has decided to go ahead with a plan to close its remaining nuclear reactors. So, like, this is absolute desperation. The reactors are old. The material's brittle. These are high-pressure reactors at over 1,000 pounds per square inch. You don't put 1,000 pounds per square inch inside this brittle metal, you know, that was bombarded with neutrons for decades. And they're, like I said, the industry is insane because they're sabotaging any other kind of energy from filling in the gap that the nuclear industry is not supposed to exist in the first place. Their entire legacy is predicated upon deception and misrepresentation and deceit and dishonesty, which are all the same, Dana. Exactly. At one point, most environmentalists would have agreed with Germany. Now we're terrified because we fear the climate crisis. And the climate crisis was caused by the nuclear industry, not by fucking coal, oil, and gas. And because they got control of the media, they're able to brainwash the population into complacency and guarantee the extermination of all the species. So that they can have a fucking job at the nuclear industry. To get a paycheck each Friday. They'll stab everybody on the planet to death to keep their fucking job. That's what makes the industry so scary, is it's the evidence that it's willing to do stuff like this is unfucking believable. Yeah. Yeah, like James Lewis is saying, used to remember huge, thick shells at Half Moon Bay all over the beach. And the beaches were made from those shells breaking down. That's why those beaches exist, is because of all the shellfish, the mussels, the scallops, the clams, the manillas, the little necks, the razorback clams, the oysters, the gooey duck shells, the mussel shells breaking down, right? And that's what makes your sandy beaches. Now you have sandy beaches, but you don't have shells, which means at some point you won't have sandy beaches in the future because that'll get washed away and there's nothing to replenish it. But what it does mean is that the ocean is broken because the industry has stopped the world from coming up with solutions. Like, I equate it a lot of the times. The best way sometimes to equate it is, if you look at what Gorbachev done to the Soviet Union, well, he signed a piece of paper that dissolved the country. It also dissolved all the patents in the countries. It dissolved all the pensions in the countries. You know where I'm going, right? Rather than the politician getting the fuck out of the way and letting somebody else who had solutions step in. Again, if I had my time back, I would never went public. I would have went out and shot all the fucking bastards in the nuclear industry, or just exterminated them. Nuclear serial killer, so to speak. And that would have been the best thing could have happened to planet Earth, by the way. He said, when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, the left viewed nuclear power as an unending source of horror. European environmentalists began crusading against it in the 70s. In the United States, the 1979 meltdown of Three Mile Island reactor, Pennsylvania, was a national trauma. The effects of the radioactive iodine. See, when they talk about iodine instead of what the reactors are actually made of, like uranium, plutonium, and the biggest byproduct is curium, and you need lead shielding 20 times thicker than you do for plutonium, for curium. And then they talk about the effects of the radioactive iodine and gases. Whoever wrote this article, just the lowest form of life imaginable, really. The lowest form of life imaginable, whoever wrote this article. Truly the most degenerate sack of shit we covered this week. And we've covered hundreds of articles this week. Actually, hundreds and hundreds. Each week we've covered typically 400 to 500 articles. We'll go through it and we'll cherry pick what we think we can get through. The effects of radioactive iodine gases on the environment and surrounding communities were a matter of intense public concern. No, you irradiated 2 million people, and then you wrote papers claiming it was like watching colored television for another fucking year. Like, the industry is so evil, it just doesn't seem possible that this industry could be any eviler. And every fucking story, you're like, what kind of evil, degenerate sack of shit could say stuff like that? Oh, well, nuclear industry, Dana. In 1986, an awful accident at Chernobyl, the worst disaster of any nuclear plant in history. Chernobyl was a 200-ton graphite reactor, and they used to put the fuel rods in that, right? Fukushima are 720 tons. Pure uranium, pure plutonium. There's fucking 4 of them missing. And 8 fuel pools with decades of reactor cores missing. And they're trying to claim Chernobyl is the world's worst fucking disaster. I'd punch that person right in the mouth. Even if it was a woman, I'd punch her right in the fucking mouth, right on the spot, if they said that to my face. Fuck you, you fucking bitch. People wore buttons with slogans like mutants for nuclear power, stop nuclear power before it stops you, opposing the Seabrook nuclear plant, which had a release and didn't hit it a few days ago in New Hampshire. Better active today than radioactive tomorrow. The German government's odd preferences for carbon-intensive fossil fuel over nuclear energy, too, has some precedence. Everybody's been attacking Germany for 11 years because they said they were getting rid of nuclear. The nuclear industry owns the media, owns your universities, captured all of it in increments over decades, including your regulatory agencies and your controlled oppositions like Greenpeace and Beyond Nuclear, Ernie Gunners and Helen Caldicott, Christopher Busby's. These are all controlled oppositions. statement right here. The climate crisis, which is created by the nuclear industry, is a far more current and future threat to life on Earth than nuclear energy is likely to be. Yeah, whoever wrote this is actually a nuclear expert, and they're a disgusting one at that. And so the girl who got her name on this story didn't write the article, for sure. You'd have to be at this for decades to know all those details, minutiae. This model here is 19 days of radioactive fallout. It never goes away, ever. Plume never stopped coming out, on top of that. Gas, oil, and coal emissions don't cover the fucking planet. I so despise the person who wrote this article. I desperately want to kick the shit out of him. The Chernobyl accident may have killed fewer than 50 fucking people. You sadistic fucking scum. You degenerate scum. You revolting fucking scumbag. There was over 600 helicopter pilots died.
It was heroism.
During this operation, 600 pilots are fatally contaminated with radiation. All of them will die.
600 helicopter pilots died, and this fucking bitch says Chernobyl may have killed fewer than 50 people. That's what I mean. Like, calling them demons still doesn't seem to do with justification. They're worse than demons. Demons are fucking innocuous compared to these creatures. Try this again. It's heartbreaking that people like that are allowed to exist on our planet, is all I can say. They closed 9,000 farms in Ireland and Scotland and the United Kingdom because of Chernobyl. 9,000 fucking farms, 3,000 miles away. Yeah, just bear with me, I'm getting... The whole industry needs to be locked up forever. Right? They have no redeeming qualities in the nuclear industry whatsoever. There's not a single person in the nuclear industry that I wouldn't cross the street to get away from the minute I seen him. Influence of Chernobyl fallout and birth defects and abortion rates in Austria. The human sex odds at birth in Europe. Chernobyl changed the sex ratio of all males and females, more males than females, which means less babies, in the entire fucking Europe. Prenatal loss of 400 male fetuses. But according to the crazies, Chernobyl only killed 50 people. secondary sex ratio and trends in gender-specific births near nuclear facilities in France and Germany. In order to change the sex ratio of males and females, you got to poison every fucking body. And you can't do that without poisoning all the species. Estimated lifetime dose to hunters and their families in the 3 most contaminated counties in Sweden after Chernobyl. And Chernobyl only killed 50 people, didn't it? The industry, I don't know why that fucking piece of shit, Geraldine Thomas. What a disgusting maggot that creature turned out to be, what? We've called her out a couple of 100 times in the last few years. She's evil. Incidences of abortions in Sweden because of Chernobyl. Legally induced abortions in Denmark after Chernobyl. Pregnancy outcome in Finland after Chernobyl. Delayed effects of radiation 10-15 years later. Early infant mortality in Germany after Chernobyl. Trends in birth and birth sex ratios. Why are you studying births and birth sex ratio and research reactors for God's sakes? Because everything is poisoning you. The industry is not even one great big fucking planet-killing disease factory. Human sex ratio at birth and residential proximity to nuclear facilities. It's really interesting to do them studies because you have to have the whole population irradiated to get a number like this. There's no redeeming qualities to nuclear. Nuclear is just a genocide and omnicide machine. Really, it's the dental abnormalities of people living in radionuclide contaminated region. Go down to Colombia. Nobody down there got a set of teeth anymore. Because of Sellafield. It used to be Windscale. It destroys your eyes, too, is another amazing, brutal facet of the despicable nuclear industry. Effects of radiation on the reproductive system. Well, Kevin Blanch can show it to you right now. It's 100% extermination. Prenatal irradiation-induced brain and cognitive impairments. Human sex ratio at birth after atmospheric weapons testing, suggesting all humans and all species worldwide were impacted by radioactive fallout. But the claim that the Chernobyl accident may have killed fewer than 50 people, despite the fact that they should have abandoned the United Kingdom because they had to close 9,000 farms 3,000 miles away. 600 helicopter pilots died, but no, it was only killed 50 people, didn't it? Surreal, right? I got 2 little lights that are color corrected. So the famous hurling Fukushima accident in 2011 had no casualties. Really? Why don't you go down to Fukushima and pick up a fuel rod for me? Tell me how cool that is. There's demons, but demons are nothing compared to the pro-nuclear community. Their entire legacy is predicated upon evil on a whole another scale. Just one community in a 12-month or a single 30-day period had an extra 12,700 people die of heart attacks compared to any other year. That's in just a single month. Do you think this just happened one fucking time? Does anybody really think this just happened one time? Really? Like, the people who wrote this article, You got no idea how lucky you are I can't fucking get my hands on you. The rest of the world will wake up one day and come looking for you, I bet. You're the evil of evil. You make Machiavellian look like a fucking schoolyard bully. It's surreal that people like this actually hate humanity so much and are given a platform. I got one more. I can't find it. It's a study. Here you go. This is a study from 2019. Congenital heart disease operations, open heart surgery rose 14% per 100,000 children, which means 14,000 children need open heart surgery across the entire country of Japan. To claim that nobody died of Fukushima is just an entirely different level of evil. There was actually 865,000 extra cancers in Japan in the first year. 865,000 extra cancers. Yeah. Can I go through the rest of that story without screaming? No. Only 3 people have died because of radiation leaks at U.S. nuclear plants, and that was in 1961. Santa Susana at Los Angeles released 460 times more radiation than 3 Mile Island. Whoever wrote this story was deeply involved in the nuclear industry, and they hate humanity with an incredible passion. I'll get their name. I'll show you their fucking name here. Parasites, eh? Liza Featherstone is the author of Dividing Desire, Focus Groups, and the Culture of Consultations. She didn't write the article. I looked at her other articles. There's zero possibility she wrote the article. She had no problem putting her fucking name on it, though, did she? Yeah, like, if you were my sister, I'd come down there and beat the shit out of you, fucking cunt. Scientists warn nuclear war could trigger mass ocean die-off. Fukushima nuclear meltdown triggered a mass ocean die-off. It only took about 20 days. And then the people that done the study that they're talking about and the Ice Age, they're showing you a picture of the Bravo Castle bomb. And this was equal to 1,000 Hiroshima bombs going off at the same time. 1,000. It's like Russia and China firing 500 nuclear weapons at each other. It's an actual nuclear war. It was called nuclear testing, but it's the same bombs, the same radioactive fallout. Only people didn't understand they were supposed to go into their shelters. And New York is getting pounded from every direction today and yesterday about that video. We covered it on Monday. The video on YouTube originally had 300 views, right? When I played the video on my channel on Monday, I think it was at the beginning of the show. It's got 650,000 views, but they were smart enough to turn the comments section off right away. New York accused of fearmongering over useless nuclear war. And they were saying when, not if a nuclear attack happens. They were saying when a nuclear attack happens. When. So they might be setting up another false flag, right? And use that to go to war against Iran. New York City officials come under fire for airing a public service announcement instructing residents to how to prepare for nuclear war amid heightened tensions over the war in Ukraine that the Americans are funneling endless weapons to, by the way. The City Emergency Management Office is instructing residents on how to prepare for a nuclear attack. Talking about fallout and everything else. Responses to the campaign were mixed, with some asking why the ad used the term when, not if, for an attack, which is the right thing to be asking. The city of New York came up with a pretty useless PSA on how to protect ourselves. Follow media. There won't be electricity or media. New scale. They're incredible degenerates, eh? These little reactors are going to produce 30% more intermediate level, 35% more high level radioactive waste, and 5 times more fuel rods because they're so fucking inefficient. Highly integrated protection system for new scale. Like, the thing doesn't even really exist on paper. You can't talk about highly integrated protection system for something that don't even friggin' exist. That don't even exist. Such scumbags in the nuclear industry is surreal. Nuclear fusion lures investors. As scientists hope. Really? The word scientist and hope shouldn't be the same sentence, should it? Of course, the joke with nuclear fusion is 50 years away. Has a huge bump up in global investments over the past 12 months. No, it just means a lot more gullible people on the planet for the nuclear industry. Raised in hopes of a breakthrough in clean energy. It can't be clean. Like, you're trying to create what the sun does. But the sun does it because it can expel the electromagnetic particulates millions of miles long, right away from it. It only works because it's, 1,000 times the size of the Earth. You don't see small fusion stars in the solar system because you need this mass, you need this vast openness in order to make it work. It's a pipe dream. You don't need it. Renewables can do everything. Like if you took geothermal compressed or geothermal tidal energy, back that up with wind and solar, and back that up with storage like compressed air storage, pumped hydro, and other storage that's available, not batteries, not idiotic, stupid batteries. Why would you do batteries when you can do compressed air storage? You dig mine shafts and you pressurize the air down there. And you can store the heat from the compression and unpack it up to 2 weeks later. The Fusion Industry Association said 93% of companies which responded to a survey believed the fusion power will be feeding electricity to the grid by 2030s. Well, they're not going to get any fucking money if they don't say that. Normally we call it a Ponzi scheme, don't we? There are signs of progress, with scientists achieving a record 59 megajoules of energy. That's enough to power about 60 kettles of fucking water. So they got the temperatures of 150 million degrees. 150 million degrees can boil a fuck of a lot more than 60 kettles. But they were able to say there was an extra 60 kettles worth of electricity. Like, the word lawyer is extremely appropriate every time the nuclear industry opens its pie hole, that's for sure. First Light Fusion, right? $45 million from gullible investors. And the Chinese technology giant Tencent bringing outside backing for the venture to $107 million. Now, we covered this for years, this nonsense. I'm not going to go down that road tonight because the Fusion Industry Association, they got to have an association when it comes to nuclear. No matter what fraction of the industry it is, you got to have an association of control freaks. Revealed 8 new companies entered the race for fusion over the past 12 months. 8 new companies. No, they just came on board because they seen easy money. Billions of dollars, and they don't got to prove anything. And the only people getting those jobs are the inbreeds from the nuclear industry. Half-life crisis. There's 10 half-lives, up to 20. Can Sizewell C revive the UK nuclear ambitions? They show you that picture, look. But if you look up Sizewell C, you'll see these pictures. It's surrounded by farms, for God's sakes. Surrounded by fucking farms. We actually got 2 people that say that nuclear professors are not cowards for not having students, nuclear students work at the Fukushima nuclear meltdown. I didn't think there could be 2 people that stupid on the planet, but hey, I've been wrong before. Not too often, but I've been wrong before. Prime Minister Boris Johnson is hoping the country can add another fascinating chapter to his dismal history of British nuclear revival with Sizewell C. The way they write, who the fuck are they talking to when they write these stories? Because the only ones going to read it is the nuclear idiot machines or the victims like me and you. Don't believe anything Britain tells you, that's for sure. The government, of course. Early investments in advanced nuclear could pay off. Could pay off. Could pay off. Again, they're talking about small modular reactors, and this is the Breakthrough Institute. We've covered them at least 100 times in the last couple of years alone. They're the last ones you're going to be trusting. The advanced small modular reactors don't exist. Like the fusion reactors, they don't exist. It's vaporware. It doesn't actually exist. U.S. and Israel jointly pledge to deny Iran nuclear arms. That's a pretty strong statement right there. really, Israel and the United States are going to go to war against Iran. And then there won't be nothing left for Israel to protect because Israel will be annihilated. By the way, Israel is the fourth biggest weapons producer on the planet. I'm sorry. The fourth biggest misery producer on the planet. The good thing about this is Biden will forget about us 16 minutes after he leaves. The Alzheimer's will kick in. The leaders, they don't lead the fucking country. They're puppets for whatever lobbying group is leading the country. The idiots of United States and Israel pledged on Thursday to deny Iran nuclear weaponry. Including through the possible use of all elements of national power available to Washington. Israel's the fourth biggest producer of weapons and by proxy misery on the entire planet. They only want a war because it's money for the industry. Israel wants you to hate them, right? Because that fulfills their prophecy. And so the easiest way to fulfill their prophecy is to artificially cause the hate. And they're extremely good at it. Another reactor is shipped for the icebreaker, Russian icebreaker. They're going to dump that in the Arctic too when they're finished with it, like they did with the last couple, like the Leningrad. Yeah, that's what they do. They dump their nuclear reactors in the Arctic Ocean. That's what the nuclear industry is good for. Murder, genocide, ecocide, and omnicide. Has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. After a false alarm from Seabrook Nuclear Power Plant, New Hampshire, prompted evacuation of beaches, emergency response officials are talking about what would happen in an actual emergency. Well, first off, they all run away first. They're not going to be the last. They're not going to be the captain of the ship and go down with it. They're running away first. You can't do nothing. You got a nuclear meltdown, you can't do jack shit on your run away. That's why you have 100 sirens around a typical nuclear plant. They have like 130, don't they, Seabrook? And we played the clip last night of the speakers. Buddy was stuttering. He was actually stuttering. This wasn't a pre-recorded message. That was real time. There's a problem at Seabrook Nuclear Power Station. Attention, attention. The beaches are closed. Leave the beach areas at once and turn on your radio. Turn on your idiot machine. You'll see police officers monitoring traffic control for a few minutes. Once it's confirmed the plume is coming their way, they're gone. School buses start to show up to evacuate those who can't do that for themselves. The traffic jams are massive. Everybody's trying to bring all their personal possessions with them because you can't go back. And if they do have an event, they're not going to tell you. Period. And we've seen this over and over through the years. By the time alert, like the one heard Tuesday's broadcast, they would likely have enough notice and time to mobilize resources. Yeah, and what are you going to do? You're not going to do jack shit against a nuclear meltdown. You're going to do nothing. You're going to do zero. All the fire trucks in the fucking world, you're going to do nothing. Lethal doses, people dropping dead, you run away like everybody else. It did kind of freak the neighborhood out, said one of the victims. Sprout Advisory, which is a Canadian company that was given a lot of money to buy the physical yellow cake that would eventually be turned into fuel for reactors. And so now they needed mines to produce more uranium because there was none available for the market. And so now they artificially inflated the price of yellow cake and they tricked investors into buying into it who didn't understand the nuances of what happened. A complete Ponzi scheme. They've been trying this for like 10 years straight, 11 years straight, and they succeeded quite good. But then, of course, the price will fucking fall again right away within a few weeks, and everybody who invested their pensions and life savings, as we've covered relentlessly for over a decade, loses it. The nuclear industry puts it in their pocket. It's a 100% Ponzi scheme. European Parliament recent decision to back plans to label gas and nuclear as green is likely to boost long-term investments in nuclear. No, well, Austria and Germany is going to take them to court. Once again, likely because they're artificially inflating it from groups like Sprout, who should be arrested for doing what they're doing. Environmental consequences of a nuclear war. This study here, it's like 1980s, I think originally was done. It was 3 guys who done a study claiming that a nuclear war would eject so much material into the sky, would block out the sun, and you have an ice age. A nuclear war, right? But they've had nuclear wars. It's called nuclear testing. It's the same weapons. A regional war involving 100 Hiroshima-sized weapons. Just a single 100 weapons would pose a worldwide threat due to ozone destruction and climate change. The Soviet Union's biggest bomb was equal to 3,800 Hiroshima-sized nuclear weapons going off at the same time. 3,800. So 38 times what they're saying there. And it probably did cause the climate change. It probably did cause the holes in the ozone. Local government talks nuclear. This is Australia. And renewed the nuclear power debate in Australia, where it's illegal, right, to have nuclear power by legislation. It's illegal to have the conversation, by the way, too, for the Parliament. It is time for the Australian government to allow an informed and mature debate on the subject, which they've never had, of course. Mature debate with the nuclear industry, with the controlled opposition. We've seen this over and over and over. There's no such thing as a debate in the nuclear industry. Further, the federal government needs to remove legislative restrictions so that investment proposals and opportunities can be explored. Interestingly, the restrictions that they want to remove is the 1999 Prime Minister John Howard ban on ministers considering nuclear power. So there's a ban on ministers considering it. Yet the sedition is rampant in Australia. The betrayal is rampant in Australia, yeah? And revolting fucking OPG, Ontario provincial government, sells nuclear green bonds in Canadian dollars. Which is Bruce Power done that last year. We covered it, right? Evil fucking scum. I apologize for the language. There's nothing I can do about it at this stage, unfortunately. Nuclear Power Generation Incorporation sold green bonds after adding nuclear power to its eligible use of proceeds as the type of energy gains traction as an option to comply with carbon emission reduction targets. So what the EU just done now is happening here in Canada. Fucking pieces of shit. They poisoned everybody in Canada already, right? Because the nuclear industry in Canada lifted all restrictions on food from the nuclear wasteland in Japan after 93 days. The nuclear industry poisoned everybody in Canada at their supermarkets all day, every day, and by proxy their homes. That's why I say this explosion of diseases and obesity and everything else across Canada is because our food supply has been poisoned by imports from Japan. We were the only people to lift restrictions for 10 years. So Japan had nowhere to ship it for 10 years, only to Canada. And the fucking Canadian, the nuclear industry is revolting. They had a big accident in the 70s. They raised the limit of just tritium. They would only emit the tritium 3H, the pricks, to 44,000 becquerels per liter of drinking water. California's limit is 15. Not 1,000, but 15. Rather than admit that they had an event, they poison everybody every chance they get. That's what they do. That's all they know how to do. They don't know how to be good people. They only know how to be unbelievably evil. Unmitigated evil. That's all they excels at, their entire legacy. What a betrayal for the nuclear industry. It's just a relentless betrayal, isn't it? Four executives from TEPCO who don't have $1 billion amongst them are expected to pay $97 billion to TEPCO. That was nationalized by the government immediately after the multiple nuclear meltdowns. Flemish energy minister calls for nuclear reactor extensions. Now, this was the Brussels Times, and the same day, today, came out with another story saying that they cannot be extended for safety reasons. And who said that? But the guy who runs the nuclear industry down there. Surreal. And if you go look up pictures of it, surrounded by farms, that's what they do. Evil is natural to this industry. Las Vegas police undergoing training to respond to nuclear threat in Las Vegas, where they had all the nuclear tests where everything is already contaminated. So give them shitty Geiger counters, turn them against the population. And they're going to be the first ones to run away when there's a nuclear accident on top of that. Talking about dirty bombs. Why is it every time that I see media that I want to throw up? I wonder, what is it about these fucking monsters? There's a monster right there, I tell you. Power-hungry, demonic, sadistic demons. 2 Polish companies applied for regulators' opinion on small modular reactor technology that doesn't even exist. They want an assessment on a technology that doesn't even exist. The estimated cost of building new scale reactors that don't exist at $1.5 to $2 billion, which means you're looking at $6 to $8 billion per reactor. It's always at least 3 to 4 times whatever they estimate. And I mean always. Not sometimes, but always, every time. The degenerate New York officials in surviving a nuclear attack, you got this. When it happens. Not if it happens, but when it happens. You got this. When we played the video, as soon as I heard her say that, I was like, you disgusting pig. United Kingdom got their annual Nuclear Decommissioning Authority report and accounts out. They've never decommissioned a single nuclear submarine that's rotting down there, and they never decommissioned a single reactor in the United Kingdom. And they got the incredible fucking arrogance to put that out. Sellafield saw a major skyline change after the removal of the diffuser to set on top of the Windscale pile chimney. Windscale melted down. In 1957, 67, 77, 87, 97, 2007, 2017, 65 years later, they're fucking bragging about getting the top of the chimney down. It'll be another 65 years before they get the chimney down, and another 600 years before they decommission that reactor. If they actually decommission anything, that'll be the last one they'll try. Windscale pile chimney. Meanwhile, Magnox has successfully transferred its first active waste, not nuclear waste, but active waste package, to its new interim storage facility at Chapel Cross, which is the new wasteland now, right? Donneray, which they figure will be decommissioned in about 315 years. Will you be here in 315 years to find out if it's true? Retrieved 1,800 liters of radioactive sodium from the base of its prototype fast reactor. If you took a liter of that and put it at a subway, it'll kill everybody there for 1 million years each day that walks past it. So they've been 60, 70 years trying to get that out of there. Our work crosses international borders, with nuclear transport solutions successfully delivering MOX fuel to Japan. Unfucking believable. Japan's the last country that should be touching mixed oxide fuel. It's a degenerate industry. The people that gravitate there seem to be the degenerate of the degenerates. If they weren't working at this, they'd be raping fucking puppies. And work to identify a suitable size and willing community. A willing community. This is why you'll never have a deep geological repository. That'll melt down at some point, of course. With 4 communities now engaged in the bullshit. Because, yeah, last year they brought all their non-decommissioning authorities together into one group and called it the Nuclear Waste Services. Because the other ones didn't decommission anything. Not the fucking one of them. The biggest bullshitters on the planet is the nuclear industry. Questions remain after false alarm sounds of Seabrook. Questions remain. They had a leak and they covered it up. That's what happened there, for sure. I covered that last night really good, actually. That's exactly what happened. They had a major leak and covered it up. Someone accidentally gave that. Look, in order to set off the sirens, you have a huge chain of commands. In order to put out a public broadcasting, there's a huge chain of commands. And then the public broadcasting wasn't a recorded message, it was one in real time. So this one's right out of the China Syndrome movie, where people try to do the moral and ethical thing. The nuclear industry stepped in and covered it up. They have 121 speakers within 10-mile radius. 121 speakers within 10 miles of a nuclear plant. How many you got around a coal plant or an oil plant or a gas plant? Oh, that's right, none. 121 speakers within 10 miles. Put there by activists from legislation, by the way, not by the industry's good act of good faith at all. This was done by activists. The New Hampshire Department of Safety said it didn't learn right away that the alert was false because they actually had a fucking release. The incident serves as a reminder for people who live within 10-mile radius. Includes 18 communities. Sell everything you got and get the fuck at least 100 miles away from these disease factories. Licensing process for Westinghouse's reactor begins in a fucking war zone. This is, of course, it's Nuclear Engineering International. If it's going to be lunatic, they're going to print it for sure. How can you promote a story like that, you sadistic fuck-ups? Licensing process for Westinghouse begins in Ukraine. Have you ever heard anything so fucking retarded in your life? Please let it end, Lord. When does the misery machine finally stop? Anthony Anderson explains how to survive a nuclear attack in Los Angeles. Of course he doesn't, right? Anderson with a vital public service during last night's filling in for Jimmy Kimmel. I think one of the jokes he told was, because that girl, remember that girl, she was in this great big apartment? He's like, who the fuck can afford an apartment that size in New York City? Cambodia airs concerns over potential of a nuclear war. Just as well everybody else is in on it the last couple of days. He said that the Russian-Ukraine war and sanctions have disrupted the global order. No, this was World Economic Forum's agenda, right? This was on purpose. Duke Energy, every time Duke Energy says something, particularly this bitch, Lynn Good, she's the last thing from the word good as you can get, by the way. No power technology can replace nuclear energy for now. What the fuck are you talking about? Last year there was 333 nuclear power plants where the renewables came online in just 12 fucking months, bitch. And no, you can't call nuclear carbon-free electricity, you fucking retard. NH nuclear plant's false alarm, New Hampshire plant's false alarm raises preparedness concerns. It was evacuated over a false alarm. That wasn't actually a false alarm. Blanche, who's got the IQ of a friggin' fruit fly. Seabrook is right there. And the radioactive fallout, that's the 10-mile evacuation zone. Like, radiation doesn't stop at fucking 10 miles, stupid. Look at all the morons out there hanging out in front of a nuclear power plant. What the hell is going through your people's minds? These fuel pools are hemorrhaging radiation all day into the environment. And you're going to take your family out there. Here's a Mac Mahone. He's not very bright. He thinks he can go in and deal with a nuclear meltdown. He's, oh yeah, we're all ready. We can take it on. Yeah, well, get your fucking ass down to Fukushima. If you're not willing to go down to Fukushima and take it on, just shut your fucking pie hole. You sack of shit. We're almost there. Look at that. 5, 10, 15 to go. The U.S. vows to use all means to stop Iran's nuclear bomb. So that's a declaration of war. Australia, Labour is demonizing nuclear power. Awesome. That's one of my favorite headlines today, right there. National leader in Australia, Little Proud, has accused Anthony Albanese of demonizing nuclear energy after the Prime Minister formally rejected his push to convene a national energy summit. Well, the legislation says you're not allowed to do that. It's called sedition, moron. Shit for brains. Oh, you like this one. If you like what the fuck stuff, you're going to like this. Bergs fails to get a park calf if nuclear authorities agree. Well, what's going on is there's a weapons manufacturing facility right there. And so, if they have an accident, there's more than 100 objections were received by council, with dozens more supporting it about having a little cafeteria. Because planning officers said the structure of the building would not sustain enough protections in the event of an accident at the nearby nuclear bomb factory. Bombs, that they can't even use. And therefore failed an emergency planning ground. They couldn't have a cafeteria because they only had one bathroom to shelter in, and 28 people can't shelter in one bathroom, apparently. 24-seat caf. Single toilet was discussed as whether it would be adequate provisions should they have an emergency, forcing 24 coffee drinkers into a 48-hour lockdown. Well, you shouldn't really build anything within 100 miles of a nuclear installation because you're going to be poisoned. But you're not going to let them have their coffee shop because you can't shelter in the place for 24 hours. But you got schools right there too, by the way, and communities right there at their fingertips. 24 people using the toilet in a nuclear emergency might be unpleasant, but I'm sure there will be other priorities in a situation like that. Yeah, they could use it. Seabrook nuclear plant false alarm. 9 of the 121. They got 121 sirens with speakers also that they can use for yelling at you. Mistakenly activated. No, that wasn't a mistake. There's a big chain of command before you can set off that kind of event. During regular testing required by the federal government, alarms were mistakenly activated. Well, how come they didn't activate all 121 of these fucking... As soon as we realized the sirens activation, we took immediate action to confirm and notified our partners, said the Division of Homeland Security, who got their power from administration, not legislation. The department utilizes all available messaging medias to spread the word, including NH alerts, wireless telephone alerts, social media, and press releases. Surreal, isn't it? U.S. and Israel agreed to stop Iran nuclear program. Including nuclear energy in the EU taxonomy opens up opportunities for private funding. Romania's nuclear industry currently provides 12,600 high-paying jobs to monsters and has an annual contribution to the GDP of 5.7 billion euros and need bailing out of at least that much each year from the taxpayers. Well, there's your daily dose of fucking stupid. We call it nuclear around here. Nuclear is the definition of I'm too stupid to be a human. That's what a pro-nuclear is. Too stupid to be a human. So, how did our poll go tonight? We got 49 likes on the video, but we only got 45 fucking votes. Are nuclear professors cowards for not having nuclear students work at the Fukushima nuclear meltdown? And the moral and ethical answer was yes. And we had an astounding 96% of the people were like, well, fuck yeah, Dana. Oh, feels like my kidney stone is kicking in again here tonight. God help us. If that's true, I'll be going to the hospital tonight to get morphine if that's fucking true. Because I can't handle that kind of pain today. I was hoping I passed the frigate. Yeah, it definitely feels like a kidney stone. That's the sad world we live in, isn't it? Work myself silly. run myself into the ground. That's all good. It's for the right cause anyway, right? I got no issues with doing the things I'm doing. I'm proud and privileged to be able to come out and curb stomp the nuclear industry every day. Dana Nasana, hi Dana, I hope you're doing good. Thank you. Snakes and doggies. Good night, everybody. Richard McCann, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, folks. We got 51 thumbs up. Woohoo! Another Gmail thinker. Good night, everybody. Have a great night, a great day tomorrow and the weekend. Unless somebody shoots Krishna, we could hope, right? Probably won't be back until Sunday. Unless somebody digs up Shinzo Abe and shoots him again, I can come out and tell that story. That'd be pretty cool. Danny-san, I gotta admit, I was quite happy with Shinzo Abe being assassinated. That made my day. The best news I had in 11 years, I think. Steve White. Good night, everyone. Don Vincent. I hope a few people can find it in their hearts to donate. We're struggling on this side of the continent here to get. I want to spend the next couple of days in looking for spiders. James Lucid, hi James. Thank you again, my friend. Bless your heart, and good night to everybody. I'm just going to do a quick shout out. John Crenshaw. My eyesight's a bit blurred here tonight. Hi, everybody. Colette S. Hi, Colette. Call me if you feel like it, Colette. If you're trying to figure something out, feel free to call me. Broken Star. Hi, everybody. Just doing a quick shout out in comment sections. And hugs for everybody out there that's watching in the background. And watching this tonight and tomorrow and the weekend. You have a great day and a great night. Skillwilla. I'm still trying to learn how to pronounce that. It's never easy. Starlight. Peaceware. Katcha. John Curtis. Just going up through the comments sections quickly. We say goodnight. I'll come back to the most recent comments in a moment here. I'm probably not going to get everybody tonight because my eyesight is failing me here. A long day. We're in the woods today for a couple of hours. I'm still pretty busted up from that. Brian S., I think. Yeah, I'm having a hard time focusing on the lettering there. Maybe if I make it a bit bigger. I'll make it too big. That's a bit better. Looks good. I think I got most people. John Shiflett. Hi, John. Hope you're doing good. And folks, if you text me, I might not respond to all the texts, but I do read them. I don't take the phone everywhere I goes with me. Timber Traveler, he texted me Blanche's video today. I had already seen it, unfortunately, but always good. Appreciate it. I'm not going to get all the comments by the looks of it. Yeah, thank you. Michael, Roos, Katja, everybody. I'm just looking for anybody I didn't shout out. Ed, M, yeah, good night. Adam the Mushroom, you're welcome. I always go back up the comments a little ways because I realize I'm starting to miss people when I read it later at night, each night. You're like, shit, I actually missed these people. There we go. We made it through, right? Good night. Oh, looks like my Geiger counter gave up the ghost. We must have been going for a minute here tonight. 2 hours and 20 minutes. I guess we'll call it quits at that stage. Oh, that's because we had Kevin on for the first half an hour. Hugs for everybody. God bless everybody. We'll see everybody tomorrow night. We got 57 thumbs up, which is a record this week. A few extra thumbs up for the night, so it would be pretty cool. But don't worry about it. I'll survive. That's the only way you can really share is the thumbing up of my videos. It costs very little and it goes a long way. Just double check in the comment section right quick. Have a great night, folks. You're awesome people. Bless every single one of you. You're very precious to this planet. And the world's a better place with you folks in it. Have a great night. We'll see everybody on Sunday unless there's breaking news. I'll pop in, but take a couple of days off. We'll be out looking for spiders for the next couple of days. We never found none yesterday, none today out in the woods. How is that even possible? We'll see everybody soon. Good night, folks. Yeah, thanks, Richard. I will, actually. We got to raise a bit of money before I can buy anything, because we had to buy stuff to fix the truck and blah, blah, blah. I certainly will do it the next chance I get. Take care, folks. We'll see everybody soon. God bless.